Okay. Here we go. We are going to begin. Time travel is not what you think it's like. Okay. My name is Clark. I'm one of 3 people who can truthfully say they have time traveled. It's not what you think it's like. I'm not really certain how they selected us. I was working on my bachelor's degree at my state university when I was approached by the team. Project BTA OW33 is what they called it. No cool name like Project X or Project Alpha Time Warp or something along those lines, just BTA OW33. Whatever that means. They approached me and asked if I'd like to take part in an experiment in exchange for my tuition being paid for. I only had a year left in school, but those 2 semesters were going to cost me 32,000 big ones. So of course I said yes. When I asked what the experiment was, they told me it was extremely secretive. I would be finding out details the day of, then I could decide to back out if I didn't want to participate. About 6 weeks went by and I was basically on court to be ready to go whenever they needed me. Finally, I got the call. I live in Atlanta, and the team had the 3 of us meet up in a parking deck about 20 minutes outside the city. Once there, we all got in one of those short school buses and they took us out to the northern Georgia mountains. It was about a 2-hour drive and we didn't get much time to get to know each other. We were under strict rules not to reveal information about ourselves or talk to each other on the bus ride over. The last couple of miles were on a rocky dirt road leading down a mountain. The bus parked in a small, maybe half-acre stretch of grass. The grass was freshly mowed and I could tell by sight and smell. The alcove of grass was enclosed by large trees from the surrounding forest. "All right." A man stood up from his seat at the front of the bus. "We're here. I'll brief you all once we get inside the house." As we got off the bus one by one, we could see that in the center of the clearing was a building. It had one very large window on the side, basically encompassing that entire wall. Every other wall was black on the inside, and I could see through the window that inside was painted white. There was a large silver metal ring that surrounded the house. It came about 3 inches off the freshly mowed grass and was a foot wide and had lights coming in from drilled holes all the way around it. "Watch your step, and please do not step on this top of ring," the man said. "Once we get inside, just go ahead and take a seat." We all stepped over the ring and made our way into the house. The house, as the man called it, was only made up of 1 room. Inside there were 4 chairs around a rather large circular table. The chairs, table, walls, and the 1 lamp were all white. The only thing that wasn't white in the room were the pair of bookshelves against each wall, both empty. After we took our seats, the man introduced himself. "Alrighty. Welcome. My name is Dr. Olson. I'm glad you all decided to take part in this, to take part in history. As we told you all, this is all extremely sensitive information. After my explanation of what this experiment consists of, I'll ask you if you want to continue. Understand?" "What if we don't want to continue?" a woman said around my age with fiery red hair. "Is that me? Am I in this story?" I'm gonna change that voice to me. "What if we don't want to continue?" a woman said about my age with fiery red hair. "Then we know this super secret information, right? And you're gonna let us walk out of here?" The man gave a smile. He knew this would be asked.
Yes, you are free to leave here knowing what the experiment consists of. However, the university and I are confident of 3 things. 1, you won't want to leave. 2, the university's attorneys are rather powerful and you've already signed the NDAs. And 3, no one will believe you even if you tell them.
Silence filled the room. The redhead slouched back in her chair. A non-verbal, "Well, go on then."
The experiment,
Dr. Olson continued, is time travel. I smiled, but wasn't sure why. The other seemed to snort a little in amusement. The tensions in the room seemed to release.
Now, I know it sounds, crazy. I've heard it all before. I'm not asking you to believe in me. I'm asking you to sit in this room and observe and tell me what happens.
We all nodded in agreement. A couple of okays filled the air. The doctor carried on.
All right. This is how it would work. I'm gonna drive up to the control center. It's just about 5 minutes up the mountain. I have a couple of colleagues here as well. From here, I'll flip the switch in layman's terms.
When Dr. Olson began his next sentence, he leaned forward, and his face took on a very stern, angry, father quality. That's a good Cali country voice. I don't know why it turned country. It just...
Do not leave this room. After I walk out, do not leave. Do not leave until I come back down the mountain, walk back inside this room, and tell you you can leave. I have done this experiment before, but not on humans. I know it works. I know it's safe. I can promise you this is safe. I cannot promise your safety, though, if you leave the house.
I remember the air shifting to an uneasy feel. Are you sure this is safe? What, you've tested on it? What's it gonna feel like? A scrawny blonde guy said, who couldn't have been older than 21. The doctor continued.
I know it's safe. No animal I have used has been affected by this. I've used rats.
Excuse me.
And progressed up to dogs. No bruises, no cuts, no change in behavior. And to be honest with you all, I don't know what you should expect. I'm not sure if it feels like a tingle, a sting, a pinch, or anything else. This is the first human trial, which is why you need to pay attention to any sensation you feel.
Wait, okay, if we're actually about to time travel, where or when are we traveling to? I asked.
You will be launching 3 hours into the future. Once activated at the control site, this building will disappear. My team and I will be on standby for 3 hours, then poof, the house is back with all of you in it. 3 hours into the future.
A long silence followed. I'm skeptic of just about anything, and something about Dr. Olson's tone, his body language, the way he was explaining it. It was hard for me to doubt. He was dead serious. When it was clear there were no more questions, Dr. Olson looked at his watch and stood up and cleared his throat.
Alrighty then. It's 1:22 p.m. right now, so by the time I make it to the control site, it should be just before 1:30. Warm-up only takes about 2 minutes, so we'll mark your projected arrival at time around 4:30. Are there any other questions or concerns?
No one spoke.
Okay, I'll see you all in 3 hours. Or, from your perspective, just a couple of minutes.
The doctor winked, nodded, and closed the door behind him after adding,
"Safe travels."
The 3 of us stood from our chairs as we watched the doctor drive off. Then we all turned to each other, the tension again easing. Well, he sure knows how to make an entrance and an exit, the redhead said. No kidding, the blonde kid answered. Oh, well, nice to meet you, fellow time travelers. We all chuckled a bit, that nervous sort of laughter.
My name's Ryan.
I'm Clark, I replied back with a handshake to follow.
Emma,
She said, with a smile that could make any man or woman's head turn.
I'm Emma.
We exchanged pleasantries, talked about our schooling and how we were selected. Emma was the first to ask what we were all thinking.
So what's the chance this is legit? Don't get me wrong, I love to be the world's first time traveler, but I feel like this is gonna end in a dud or we're just being pranked. Yeah, Ryan replied. When he was explaining everything, I thought it might be a prank, like this may be an actual experiment from the university, but it's an experiment to see if they can convince people they time traveled.
That's meta, I quipped.
Oh guys, look!
Emma was staring out the large window. The ring that surrounded the building was slowly getting brighter. It looked like 100 laser pointers slowly brightening, shining up into the overcast sky. Does this mean we're in the 2-minute warm-up? I said, already knowing the answer.
I guess so,
Emma started.
God, my heart is racing!
Mine too.
Same.
We all stood, perfectly still, watching those skinny beams of light growing brighter until it was nearly blinding. I turned to look at Emma. Her pupils were closing to the size of a pencil, maybe smaller. Her gaze along with Ryan's were locked on the beams. I could see the faces getting more illuminated each second that passed. Second after second, it kept getting brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, until it was like we were being engulfed by the sun. And in less than a second, it was dark. I chose my words carefully. Less than a second. It was not like turning off a light. It was not like shutting your eyes. It was faster. It was instant. I saw Emma's pupils quickly grow large as the absence of light from out the window met her retina. The inside of the house was still illuminated, thanks to one lamp in the main room. Outside the window was nothing. Not nighttime, not black, not pitch black, nothing. It almost had a color to it, but one I cannot explain. It gave off no light. It was the color a blind man sees. It was the color of our sleeping nights in between dreams. It was the color of death. It was nothing. We all kind of looked around after a minute of silence, all staring out the same window into a void of absence.
What the f
Is happening? Emma said in a shaky voice. I began.
My heart stopped beating,
Ryan said bluntly. I saw Emma raise 2 fingers to her neck. I didn't have to. I could feel it. It was one of the first things I noticed. When I was staring at Emma's pupils as the light reached its crescendo, my heart was racing. And as soon as the light disappeared, so did the rhythmic thumps of my heart.
What the f is happening?
Emma began to panic.
Wait. This is just a part of it.
Ryan stated.
I'm really freaked out too, trust me. Obviously something is happening. If you believe the doctor, which I'm starting to, we may be, traveling through time.
I actually agreed with him. Yeah, you're right. We just need to pay attention to this so we can explain later. Okay, heartbeats stopped. Check. We're still alive. Check. And that void abyss thing. Check. We turned to the window in unison.
I don't like looking at it,
Emma said.
It's unnatural. It's, I don't know, not supposed to be. It's not black, there's no light, I don't think.
She wasn't wrong. I'm kind of glad I don't have a heartbeat right now because I think I have a heart attack, I joked. Anxious laughs filled the small space. We finally moved from our spots where we were staring out the window. It was a relief to move around the room, and I'm not sure why. We were quiet for a couple of minutes, and Emma was sitting in a chair with her knees tucked up to her chest, occasionally checking her non-existent pulse or looking at her hands. Ryan leaned against the back wall, staring out the window. I pulled up a chair next to Emma's and joined her in her quiet atmosphere. Our peaceful still was broken with Ryan's words.
Clark? Emma? There's something out there.
We looked at him and then out the window.
What do you mean?
Emma asked.
Out there. I can see things.
Your mind is playing tricks on you, you know, like when you're in a pitch black room, your mind will make you see lights and shapes and stuff, I said.
No,
he countered.
It's there. Look. Look out there. You can see. I don't know how to describe it. Just look.
Emma and I both turned our attention again. Once again to the emptiness. It was still. It was quiet. It was unmoving. Abnormal. Yet it felt like it was meant to be there. Like it was at home. And we were the intruders.
I don't see anything,
Emma said. Me neither, I said. Ryan continued to stare out, unflinching. Emma and I stayed at the table, fiddling with our fingers and nervously finger-tapping. I'm not sure how much time had passed before the silence was broken. All I know is it felt like a long time. Maybe an hour, maybe 2.
Well, this is taking quite some time, isn't it?
Emma said. Seriously, I feel like we've been here for a couple of hours, I responded.
No,
Ryan said.
Not even a second has passed.
Emma and I glanced looks of confusion at each other. What do you mean?
Not even a second has passed,
he repeated. His gaze was still locked on the void.
Time doesn't pass in here. When you look into it, you see? No time has passed. No time will pass. When you look into it, it'll all make sense.
Emma and I locked eyes once again, yet this time it was less confusion and more terror. I spoke up. Come on, man. Stop messing with us. He didn't reply. He didn't blink. Days passed, I think. Emma and I sat and talked a lot. We didn't grow hungry, tired, or thirsty. We didn't have to use the bathroom. We came to a few realizations. One was that there was no temperature in the room. It was an absence of any heat or coolness. Air was non-existent. After roughly 12 hours, or so we estimated, our bodies began to not breathe automatically. We didn't need oxygen. The other realization was about that void. Ryan had been staring off into it for the entirety of our stay, save for the first couple of minutes. He has not moved. He has not blinked. Sometimes he mumbles something about time or the universe, but most of it is gibberish. Emma and I decided that maybe something is there. We can't see it, but maybe Ryan can, and it's driving him insane. We decided it's best not to look at it for too long. After weeks of being stuck in that room, Emma and I were growing increasingly restless. We started arguing about being stuck in that room, about little things, and eventually stopped talking altogether. Sometimes I would hear her sob, trying to be quiet. I spent a lot of my time crying as well. No tears could come out though. Emma and I ignoring each other was halted one day after Ryan simply stated loud and clear,
I'm going out.
It was the first time Emma and I had even looked at each other in a couple days. It was the first Ryan had ever spoken coherent words in weeks. He didn't look at us when he said it. And for some reason, neither of us protested. Maybe out of boredom, depression, or curiosity. We didn't stop him. He walked over to the glass door and stood for a moment, never taking his eyes off the emptiness. He spoke to us, still facing the nothingness.
I'm going to learn its secrets, its power. I will become a god, and it welcomes me.
Oh no, right? He opened the door. He reached his hand out into the void. It looked like an optical illusion, exactly where the doorframe was. As soon as he broke through that plane, his hand disappeared. All I could see was his wrist with nothing attached. He brought his arm back inside the room. His hand was missing. There were exposed bone, flesh and tissue, but he did not bleed. He did not scream. He smiled. He then walked out into the void, looking like a ghost walking through a wall. Emma and I stared in horror. She ran over to me and we cried together for a while. She said 7 words to me through thick sobs that chilled me to the bone for the first real sensation I've ever had coming here. Are we gonna be here forever?